Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Pop Anime Comics here from PopAnimeComics.com, where we write about anime, comics, and pop culture, as well as the Pop Anime Comics Lounge podcast, where I interview voice actors, comic writers, artists, cosplayers, and professional wrestlers. And as people know, watching my other videos, and if you're new, I run this little panel called Exploring Dystopia through Attack on Titan, The Walking Dead, and Fahrenheit 451. And the whole premise of that panel is I compare and contrast those three works. And the whole point of these videos is to provide a supplement to that panel. So YouTube is Attack on Titan, my website. I break down The Walking Dead every month. And so that's the whole purpose. So if you want a further breakdown and want more information and more discussion, which is what I'm doing and exploring big ideas, this is the video for you. So I'm going to give a really quick summary of what happened with the episode, break it down a little bit, and have a conversation on what is important and what's going on, and a little context with everything that's going on. And that's how this season's going to work. So this is episode 50. Came out April 28th, and it's called, and obviously I'm just tapping my phone because I got my notes here. It's The Town Where Everything Began, episode 50, season 3, for context. And so the Survey Corps is basically making their move to reclaim and plug up the holes, the outer wall holes where the Titans initially broke, and then plug the outer hole, the inner wall hole, and then find out what's in the basement. And as they're going through that, what starts to happen is that Eren is getting a bit nervous, and then we get a flashback, and it's very similar to the flashback in episode 4 of Attack on Titan, where it's a revisiting of that scene, and we kind of get a little more context and a little bit more insight into that, where Eren remembers when Armin showed him the book, and Eren makes a revelation saying, I realized when you showed me that and the sea was there that I wasn't free, and that this government sort of took that away from me. And that he makes the statement that I saw your dream was to go do that, and now we're going to be kind of reclaiming our freedom, and within a year from now, we're going to be able to see the sea. And so I think that is something extremely important to talk about right from the start, where Eren's nervous, and then when he brings that up, he says, you're giving me strength, and that's a reason to fight. And I made that statement about 4 or 5 years ago, and I think that statement reigns true in Attack on Titan to this day, where that scene is one of the most important scenes from episode 4, and it's revisited 46 episodes later as a fighting point, and it's really foreshadowing that this is what they're fighting for, and this is what their end game is to be able to see the sea. And so I think that's so important. And as they're going along and continuing to go along, they wind up getting to Eren's hometown, and Eren, Mikasa, and Armin are completely shocked at the destruction because they haven't been there in 3+ years, and they're realizing the true cause and the true damage that has been done, especially in particular by people who they thought were their friends, Bertholdt and Rainer, and their entire position now is becoming a reality where, look, we're going to have to fight people that we know well, and we're going to have to deal with this, and that they really are our enemy, and there are real consequences for what has occurred. And this almost, in calming down and really seeing this almost jeopardizes the entire mission, where all three of them freeze, and while they have cloaks on, because the Survey Corps' entire mission is to have 100 cloaked soldiers who nobody knows who Eren is, because the enemy is watching, to quickly plug up the outer hole and then quickly plug up the inner hole, and then eliminate any straggling Titans that are out there, as well as the enemy, before really the enemy can. And then once the two holes are plugged up, the goal is to eliminate the two enemies and move on and reclaim that territory, because the threat of the Titans are no longer a problem once those two holes are plugged up. So they plug up the first one very easily, and in the process, Armin discovers that a fire is very recent and that there are 3 metal cups. And they're made of complete metal, they're cold, and Erwin then deduces from that it's not 2 minutes they saw them coming in, it's rather 5 or 6 minutes, which would completely cool the metal down. And so the enemies had time to prep up for their rival and purposely let them plug up the hole. And this is where the strategy starts to develop. And given the history of the Titans, the interactions with the Beast Titan, the interaction with the Armor Titan, the interaction with the Colossal Titan at this point, and the female Titan as well, it's pretty clear that they don't employ normal tactics. And so Armin says, I have a hunch. He says they're in the walls, most likely. Kind of traces back to when, the walls were made up of Titans. And they start tapping walls, and then they discover a cavity. And Rainer's in that cavity. He emerges out, kills a Survey Corps soldier. Trance goes on the ground. Levy cuts him, goes on the ground, transforms into the Armor Titan. And then the Beast Titan emerges out of nowhere, shocks everybody. Not from Hot Topic, I can assure you that. But he comes out, and then he's throwing boulders with several other Titans beside him. Throwing boulders, blocks the horse's exit, and it's game on. And now it's about to be a fight. And while this fight hasn't this is just the opening round and the opening bell shots of the fight. It's pretty clear that Eren is going to be squaring off against Rainer. And we don't exactly know in this episode, if you read the manga, you know who's going to be squaring off against the Beast Titan. But clearly there's a lot of strategy employed here that is occurring because their objective, at least the Beast Titan and Rainer, and we can assume that Burdenholt is with Rainer at this point because there's 3 cups. A little bit of a spoiler alert, but I don't think it's that unforeseeable. Their main objective is to capture Eren and bring him back. But there's strategy where, the Beast Titan has clearly blocked the horse's path for the Survey Corps, and this is a final showdown between these 2 groups, whether they're going to be Titan group, as I'm going to dub them, Beast Titan, Rainer, and Burdenholt are going to capture Eren and bring him back, or if the Survey Corps are going to defeat this Titan group and plug up the wall, and humanity's going to gain back a third plus of its land. So that's the entire opening round of this episode. And why this is important is that it really sets the standard, because this episode in this season is going to move quick. It's going to move really quick because we already have the opening fight. It's not pulling any punches. I think we're getting 12 episodes, maybe 13 episodes, and it's not pulling any punches. I don't think we're going to get to what's beyond this in the 3rd season. I think that's going to be the 4th season. I'm just going to state that. And I'm speaking in a bit of code. And I've interviewed who's played Rainer. I've interviewed who's played Burdenholt for the podcast. And I have a feeling that we're not going to get beyond this entire arc for the 3rd season. But this is setting the standard. It's setting that a lot of strategy is about to happen. This is an operation. This is very different than just Titan versus Titan fights and the Survey Corps dealing with just eliminating rogue Titans. Clearly, this side and the Titan side has intel. I think that's something that we actually have to understand, where you don't initially realize that Attack on Titan is an intellectual strategy-based show. There's a lot of military strategy that's actually implored, and we're starting to see that in this episode. I mean, the entire thing where Erwin gives Armin commands is a really good example of this, where he says, go find the enemy's location, and then Armin orders say, search the walls. I mean, that's a real military destination command position. And so that's what's occurring with this. And again, we get that element of freedom, and I'm going back to the book, and it's a little bit out of order, but there's a reason why I'm doing it this way. We go back to that book, and I beat a little bit down earlier on, but I want to revisit that also, is that we do get a reason to fight now. We get this idea of freedom, and we get a rational position of why Eren is fighting. And it's been reaffirmed. And we also get the fact that he's nervous and that he has a lot of pressure on himself. And that he's like, can I retake this? Well, what if I mess up? Humanity is kind of on my shoulders. But it's also his drive to want to see the sea and to make his friends' dreams come true. And that's going to be very influential in the upcoming episodes. And I don't want to ruin anything for those who haven't read the manga. I know exactly what happens. We're not going beyond episodes here. If you would like to do that, there's a lot of other YouTubers who will break down an entire thing and spoil things for you. That dream and this entire foreshadowing and this segments of friendship are just so massive, because what happens, and when it happens, you're gonna hear me say, "Yes, I've been waiting for it," because it's gonna be happening in the next 5 episodes. I'm willing to bet. This what I want to talk about, and it's on the tip of my tongue here, and I'm holding back out of respect for everybody who wants to explore this episode by episode. That's why we didn't say who the Beast Titan is. There's a lot of stuff about the Beast Titan that's fun and exciting, and if you read the manga, you know that. So, but they're really foreshadowing and they're setting things up very nicely in this season with those clips and reiterating earlier episodes and staying in consistency with those episodes and building on a point from season 1. 46 episodes later, that point is re-driven in, and it's driven in with more clarity, and it's driven in with better positioning, and it's driven in as a reminder and it's meant to ring a bell. And that's very nice. And it also captures this idea that what's really at stake is freedom. And what's at stake is a way of life. And what's at stake is this entire humanity that we know with Eren and Mikasa and Armin, and what they want to enjoy, and almost the entire point of the government that they just overthrew in the first part of season, starting in the end of season 2 and really in the first part of season 3. I mean, without this mission and without Eren's drive for that freedom and wanting to make Armin's dream come true, and the fact that he recognizes that he didn't have freedom and now this is the only way he will have freedom, really captures that. So I think that's what this episode really captures nicely. I think it sets it up so beautifully. And there's a lot of things at play. And once this season's done, obviously I'm going to re-explore a lot of stuff when all this stuff is revealed. It's just very hard to do this episode by episode and be as spoiler free and as future spoiler free as possible with these episodes, because I want to be respectful to everybody who is watching this episode by episode and didn't read the manga or doesn't remember everything in the manga. And that's why we're going this way. So I know exactly who the Beast Titan is. I know what happens to a bunch of characters. I know how this mission ends. I know where we're going in 30 chapters from now. And I'll give everybody a little clue. We are going in a Walking Dead direction. So these two things are very similar. They run parallel. If you would like, one of the cool things, and I'm just going to state this for those who watch this through, at a certain point, you can overlap The Walking Dead, starting at about issue 170, the second part of season 3 sort of overlaps with issues 140 to about 170. A little bit looser, but then 170 all the way up to about 200 really overlaps with the arc after this arc in the manga. And so that should give you a clue of where we're going with this. And that doesn't reveal too much of what's occurring. So just to give perspective and also to try to convince you to check out my website. So if you want a Walking Dead analysis with this type of stuff and see a lot of the similarities, that's where I would go. I've been writing The Walking Dead since issue 150. So there's a lot of comparisons that you could explore, especially when we get like 3 or 4 episodes into this show in the second half of season 3. So that's something to keep in mind. I know this is long, so it's as long as the episode. I know people love this stuff, and I love talking about it. And I'm obviously going to probably have a 2-hour live stream once this entire thing is done, just to have a blast talking about it, and possibly bringing in a few other people who I know are fans, and just have a conversation about it and break down what we thought of it and have an intellectual discussion. Because it'll be a lot easier to talk about 12 episodes all at once. But I will be doing weekly episodes on Sundays. If not Mondays, occasionally, because I have a life also. But thank you for watching. Again, I'm just going to go through my social real quick. Obviously, subscribe on here, because that's always appreciated. Best way how to find this, if you like what I do here, subscribe, because that means a lot to me. You can check out my podcast. That's the Pop Anime Comics Lounge. I release new episodes every Sunday night / Monday morning. So I got a new episode coming out. It's a cosplayer. She's really cool. Recommend checking it out. I just did Linda Valentine, third Sailor Moon voice, so that's cool. My Twitter handle is @PopAnimeComics. So like me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, check me out. I like tweeting about wrestling. It's always fun. Facebook is Pop Anime Comics. I do live streams usually on Saturdays. So I have a live little Facebook comic book thing going on. Got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And I'm going to be getting some really cool stuff in the next 6-7 weeks. That's coming. Just went to a con, got a bunch of stuff submitted. So check that out. Instagram is Pop Anime Comics. A bunch of Pop Funkos are up there. A bunch of other stuff. I'm doing through a bunch of comic stuff today. Should be up there. So check that out. And anything that's Pop Anime Comics is mine. So definitely check that out. And thank you for watching. And I cannot wait to. I love when people comment. So please comment. Tell me your thoughts on the episode and let's have a discussion. But I do recommend that keep it as spoiler free as possible, because we don't know where everybody is, and that's why we're only dealing with this episode, one episode at a time, and then eventually, once the season's done, we will break it down on a larger scale with a lot more spoilers and a lot more stuff going on, and that's why I'm avoiding as many spoilers as possible. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next Sunday to talk about episode 51 of Attack on Titan, to see more of the Beast Titan, who is not at Hot Topic in the show, but you can pick him up at Hot Topic. And I do not have an affiliate link, but he's very beasty, and he's got great aim. He's got great aim. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next week, everybody.